Joining us on the line is Andy No. He's editor-at-large at the Post-Millennial, and this week he was suspended and now apparently banned from Twitter for the great crime of saying a true thing about crime rates and murder rates against transgender people in the United States. Andy, thanks so much for joining the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, Andy, you tweeted something, you got banned from Twitter, you challenged the ban, and Twitter is upholding it, saying that you engaged in what, hateful speech? What exactly did you do, you great sinner, you?
Yeah, don't all things kind of lead back to the Clintons? So on November 20th, it was a Trans Day of Remembrance, and everybody was virtue signaling. And Chelsea Clinton was trying to bring attention to the so-called epidemic of trans murders in the United States. And she was talking about how most of them have been Black transgender women. And you see this, it's become really a trope and a panic, actually, by irresponsible politicians and public figures to talk about this non-existent epidemic in the U.S. I mean, we saw it on screen recently at the CNN LGBT town hall of how they allowed somebody to go to the microphone, steal the microphone, and make a big stunt about this this panic. And it's untrue. I mean, the claim is that trans people of color, because they're trans, because they are brown or Black, are being targeted and murdered on the streets at crazy numbers, and it's untrue. So I was responding to Chelsea Clinton, and I just said I made some empirical claims that are actually verifiable. I said the U.S. is one of the safest countries for trans people. The murder rate of trans victims is actually lower than that for the cis population. Also, who is behind the murders? Mostly Black men, unquote. Those are the words. 5 days later, I was informed that Twitter had determined that this statement, empirical claim, verifiable, violates their hateful conduct policy, that it incites violence, threats, or harassment against a particular group of people. And I had two choices. One is to accept the finding and to delete it and be held on a 12-hour suspension, and or be locked out of my account while I appeal. And I chose the latter option. My initial appeal was denied. They upheld the decision, and I chose to appeal it again. And so I'm still waiting. In the meanwhile, I'm completely locked out of the app.
I mean, absolute ridiculous nonsense, obviously, but perfectly predictable from the same Twitter that banned Megan Murphy for suggesting that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Our social media betters are coming down hard on us. Andy, thanks for continuing to speak the truth, even if it means that you get kicked off of Twitter. If you want to, go check out Andy's journalism. He does a wonderful job. He reports on areas that the media do not report, including the evils of Antifa particularly. Obviously, Andy was assaulted earlier this year by Antifa. The perpetrators still have not been found. Go check Andy out over at the Post-Millennial. Andy, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.